Good afternoon and welcome to this empowered session with me, Roy Vesti. Thank you for taking the time to join me today as we continue on this journey to understand what it is our brand, our company, and we have to do to create a great customer experience. There's never been a time when customer experience was more important than it is today. Customers expect a personalized experience when they deal with brands, and customers are more likely to purchase when businesses provide a personalized individual experience. Personalization improves the customer's experience, it helps drive sales, and increases customer loyalty. So from previous Empowered and Cape-Up sessions, let's just recap on what we have established so far with regards to customer experience. We know that customers' expectations are increasing at a rapid rate, and they are demanding more from their brand interactions. They no longer are happy being treated as a number. They want a personalized and individual experience, and this is critical to winning their business. We know that when we do provide our customers with a personalized, individualized experience, they're willing to pay more for that experience. Research shows that there's a large gap in the market between the perception and the reality when it comes to customer experience. 82% of organizations believe that they're meeting customers' expectations with regards to a customer experience, yet only 10% of those customers strongly agree that most brands meet the expectations of what they consider to be a good experience. We know that COVID-19 is forcing consumers online. Currently, 76% of consumers have moved to web-based shopping to purchase goods that they normally would have purchased in person. Of that 76%, 57% of those customers have decided they will continue to purchase online once the pandemic ends, as they're now realizing the ease and convenience of online shopping. In my previous Empowered session, I introduced you to a customer experience model that had been developed by KPMG and was developed to provide a precise and practical definition of the kind of emotional outcome a successful experience needs to deliver. The 6 pillars are inextricably intertwined and in combination provide a powerful mechanism to help you, your organization, and your brand understand how well their customer experience is delivered across channels, industries, and company types. So let's just recap on those 6 pillars of that customer experience model. The first component is personalization, and that's where we use individualized attention to drive an emotional connection between you, the customer, and your brand. We're all very busy these days, and things seem to be more complicated and difficult, so time and effort is absolutely critical. And this component is focusing on how we minimize customer effort and create a frictionless process for the customer. We know that customers' expectations are increasing, so the next component is about how we establish those expectations, how we manage them effectively, and in doing so, we meet and exceed our customers' expectations of our brand. We know that things go wrong, and the next component then is resolution. When things do go sour, how do we turn that poor experience into a great one for our customer and retain our customer as a brand advocate? Of course, integrity is absolutely critical when dealing with our customers. So how do we demonstrate being trustworthy and in doing so engender trust between ourselves and our customer? And the last component is empathy, and that's really about achieving an understanding of the customer's circumstances, and in doing so, we can drive deep rapport between ourselves and our customers. What I'd like to do today is explore more detail how to personalize the customer experience, which has the greatest weighting on both loyalty and advocacy. Personalization is the most valid component or the most valued component of the customer experience. It involves demonstrating that you understand the customer's specific circumstances and you will adapt the experience accordingly. Use of name, knowledge of preference, and past interactions all add up to an experience that feels personalized. So in this afternoon session, I'd like to focus on the personalization component of that customer experience model. I'd like to unpack it in some detail, and in doing so, gain an understanding of how we drive an emotional connection between our products or our brand and your customer. Also, the value of establishing the customer's preferences as well as what their expectations are. Only once you've established what the expectation and preferences are you then able to adapt your approach and give our customers a truly unique, individualized experience. Once we've been successful in giving them an individualized experience, we will drive value in that experience for the customer, and in doing so, turn them into loyal advocates for your company. Personalization in customer experience means designing products or services that meet the customer's individual requirements. So where does personalization start? Very simply put, it starts with remembering the customer's name. I'm sure in the past you've had interactions with businesses or individuals where they've already asked you to give your name, and a little bit further down in the interaction, they ask you to repeat your name. Straight away, you feel that you're not getting that unique or individualized experience you were hoping for, and it is very, very clear that the person that you are engaged with is not actively listening to you. So yes, personalization starts with remembering a person's name. Make sure you use it wherever appropriate, and this is absolutely key to winning the person over to your way of thinking. Hearing one's name has a powerful impact on the listener's brain. Hence, it's only logical to remember and use their name frequently during your interaction with the customers. How do we find out about what the customer's preferences are, as well as what their expectations are? Quite simply, if we want to know, we need to ask the question. Some customers will keep their cards very close to their chest and not give up information freely. So therefore, ensure that your methods of establishing customers' preferences, likes and dislikes, produces quality information. As human beings, we're very good at asking confirmation questions that result in a yes-no answer. Yet, when it comes to asking the questions that really get to the heart of the customer's preferences through quality information, we're not good at all. So make sure you ask the right questions that will give you the information needed to understand the customer's expectations. We tend to listen with the intent to respond, and in doing so, our success in establishing customers' preferences will be challenged. However, if we listen with the intent to understand, we are more likely to establish the customer's likes, dislikes, and preferences. If your customer has had past interactions with your business, you may already find that you have a wealth of information that will help you to personalize the experience for your customer. Information may have been recorded in your CRM, so make sure that you tap into the customer information prior to the customer coming in. Sometimes it's the little things that can have a massive impact on a personalized customer experience. For example, if you know that the customer has a child and you mention the child's name and say something like, "How is little Peter getting on at school?" Or, "If I recall, you like cream with your coffee, no sugar. Is that correct?" Just those little things will have a massive impact on personalizing the customer experience. And that will drive an emotional connection between you and the customer and your product. You may have just obtained this information prior to the customer walking in, but in doing so, it'll make the customer feel really valued and add that personalized touch. But what distinguishes world-class personalization is how the customer is left feeling after their interaction. Does the experience leave them feeling valued, important, and more in control? Possibly the most important element of personalizing customer experience is having an understanding of the different personality types and the characteristics that make up their dominant personality type. Being able to identify personality types will help us exert your influence, improve relationships and interactions with your customer, and communicate more effectively. It will empower you to achieve a unique and successful customer experience. So how do we go about identifying different personality types? You may be saying to yourself, we now know that all customers want a unique and tailored individual experience, and how important it is to make sure that we do that to get customer advocacy and brand loyalty. However, there are 7.8 billion people in the world out there today. So how do we go about creating a unique experience for all of those people? Well, I have good news for you. The good news is that there are only 4 dominant personality types. There's been loads of research that has been done on different personality types. There's lots of models that you can view on the internet. But the one common thread that runs through them all is that there are only 4 dominant personality types. If you understand what the different personality types are, but more importantly, what are the characteristics that make up those personality types, through observation when interacting or engaging with your customer, you will soon be able to identify what is their particular or what is their dominant personality type. Once you've been able to identify this, then you are able to adapt your approach. And in doing so, you will then be able to give the customer that type of experience that they are looking for, one that is tailored, unique, and individual to them. Customers are going to be looking at 2 things when they interact with the brand: what that brand is going to do from them on either a rational level or an emotional level. A rational level is more about what is the product going to do for them in terms of meeting their needs and their wants. On an emotional level, it's what is that product going to do from them in terms of making an emotional connection. The other component is how quickly the customer is comfortable walking through the process to a point where they are ready to make a positive buying decision. So just to have a look at the 4 different personality types briefly, we have what I call the executive. And the reason why I call them the executive, because this is the individual who's very, very businesslike. They're very task orientated, and really they just want to get the task done. These people are time poor, so they are always in a hurry. They're always busy and working hard to get things done quickly. They're very, as I mentioned, very, very task orientated, and that's where their focus is going to be. They're the type of individuals that do a lot of research on products, so they probably already know a lot about your product and what it can do for them. And there's interest there. That is the reason why they've contacted you. However, your role in that relationship is really about just facilitating that process to the point where the customer makes a positive buying decision. These individuals are very decisive. They make very, very quick decisions. They can be seen to be good in difficult situations because they strip the emotion out of the relationship. So the relationship with the executive is really more of a business relationship. It's not going to be a warm and fuzzy relationship. It's going to be a business relationship because they strip the emotion out of it. These individuals can be seen to be quite dictatorial because they know what they want and they will tell you. They're sometimes perceived to be arrogant, which I personally think could sometimes be the wrong sort of perception. And they also seem to be intimidating, and that is because other personality types are not quite sure how to engage or how to interact with them. The reality is that if you're engaged with a customer who is the executive type personality, they're very simple to deal with, very easy to deal with. You simply listen to what they want, make sure you deliver on that, and that is the type of experience that that customer is looking for. The next personality type is the theorist, and these are the type of people who are really focused on facts and figures. They're very logical. Everything has to make sense to them. They're the types of people that are very, very organized. They're very detailed orientated. They do a lot of research. They will spend a lot of time doing research, and the reason for that is when they are at a point to make that when they are at a point to make a buying decision, it has to be the right decision. So they're very, very focused on facts and figures and do a lot of research. These individuals are very precise in their outlook. They're very accurate. Everything has to be right. They do not rush things because, again, the task has to be done right the first time. And they're very calm individuals. These people are very focused on a process. They love a process because they appreciate processes are there to make sure that a quality result is achieved. Often they are perceived to be unresponsive, and the reason being for this is because they think about things in quite some depth. So often, if you ask them something, they will think about it. They may even turn around to you and say, "Give me some time to think about that, and I'll get back to you." But the reason for that is when they do get back to you, their response has to be the correct response. These are the type of individuals that look at all scenarios, both positive and negative, and it's important that they focus on the negative and rule those out. And that helps them with making sure that they come to that positive buying decision. So that is the theorist. The next personality type is the nurturer. And this is the type of person who's really focused on just trying to make everybody in their social circle very happy. Whenever they engage with people, they're very friendly, they're very engaging, but really they work very hard to make those people around them very, very happy indeed. They're great team players. They like to be part of a team and work together. They're very empathetic people. So they show a lot of empathy towards people. They're great people to talk to. They're good listeners, and they'll be very empathetic. They're very considerate, and often they will put their needs above, or sorry, your needs above their needs. So very, very considerate people. They're very sincere in their approach and their outlook, and very caring and loyal people. However, what we do need to be aware of when we are dealing with the nurturer is that they do struggle to make decisions. And the reason is very simply is that when they do make a decision, they're not only taking how that decision impacts on them, but also impacts on everybody in their social circle. Okay, so they do struggle to make decisions. Because they are nurturers and they work very hard at trying to please people, they can be perceived to become over involved. So we just need to be aware of that. But generally, these people work very, very hard on building a relationship. Relationship is very important to them, and they work very hard on making those people around them happy. And that's when they are happy. And finally, I'd like to talk about the performer. And this is the type of individual where their approach and their focus is whatever we do, let's make sure we have fun doing it. They're very positive people. They're very charismatic people. They're very, very enthusiastic in what they do. They love to be on center stage. They love the spotlight on them. So they can be sometimes perceived to be quite egotistical. As I said, they're very optimistic people. Their glass is always half full and they don't really focus on the negativity. They have the ability to be very persuasive, and that just comes through their natural personality type. But yes, they are able to persuade people to do things that they probably wouldn't normally do. They can tend to be quite overpowering, and these are the type of individuals that don't really realize when they've overstepped that sort of mark. And often you have to say to them, it's time to take a step back now, just taper it off a little bit. But generally, just as I said, relationship is very important to these people, but it's really all about whatever process you go through, have fun doing it. So folks, that is just a very brief sort of breakdown of some of the characteristics of the four different or the four dominant personality types. I really encourage you to spend some time, invest some time doing some research on different personality types, and you'll start to realize that once you understand the characteristics of those personality types, when you're engaged with your customer, you'll soon be able to identify what is their personality type. As I mentioned before, once you've done that, you can then adapt your approach and give your customers a really truly unique individual experience and win them over as brand advocates. From me, that's all we have for today. Thank you very much for your time, and please join me next time as we look at another component of the customer experience model and see how we can break that down to help you create a great customer experience. Until then,